Um, I want to welcome everybody. Okay, so I've already given my little joke, but I'm going to tell you again. I'm like, of course, been a little bit nervous. I woke up at 2:30 this morning, and it doesn't help when you have a cat around. You know how they jump on you and they do all these things? Well, she was a little more active. She knew I was awake. So anyway, I have my degree deodorant on, and I'm ready to go. Again, thank you for coming out here. This, to me, is the biggest thing. We started this project last year, so just a little FYI. It's basically an experimental class for us, the TLTE, the TX students, because before, students only had one opportunity to teach a lesson, and often when they would go into the classroom, the teacher would say, well, we're technically not going to be teaching science until the end of the semester or some other time, and then they were even saying, well, the topic that you're wanting to do, we can't do right now. So it was really difficult for my students to teach a science lesson. So that I kept on thinking, well, how can I improve on our experiences here and help my students to get more experience in the classroom? So the lucky thing that we ended up doing, I talked to Guy Training, those of you in TLTE know Guy Training, and he said, Krista, I have a perfect idea, and so I started talking with the CLC, which is the Community Learning Centers, and from there we have a lot more autonomy in putting together our units, because it becomes a unit, not that any one person's doing all the work, but we're all getting a chance to teach a lesson that we decide we want to teach, versus the teacher, a cooperating teacher saying, well, I think I can fit you in for 15-20 minutes. So that's how this project actually came to be. And what was totally awesome was I met Jenny this, August? About a week or so before school started. And anyway, so I had an appointment. I wanted to go talk to her because she's biomedical engineer. And I went over just to chit chat because, with our new standards, those of you, I know you're just up on this and everything, but the science, we have new standards, which are based on science and engineering practices. So who else would I choose to work with but another engineer? And not only that, she has this. She already has a focus towards education. So anyway, we were just chit-chatting, and she's like, Krista, I need help with my outreach. I want to do outreach. How do I get into the classroom? And I said, well, I have this. This is what I do with my class. She said, how about we work together? And so that's how the two courses, the two classes came to be, which of course was even nicer that on Thursdays we both meet at the exact same time. So, it was like, meant to be. So I'm going to today, I'm going to go over, here, let me just kind of go over what we're going to do. So today I'm going to do an introduction. I don't see any of the CLC people in here yet. They're a little bit later on in the program, so that'll be okay. And as for the Community Learning Center coordinators, a lot of them are teachers or they have other jobs, and I know that at least one of the schools, they just started their school bank. So, things are not smooth on getting here, but I'm going to go an overview of the large project. Jenny's going to come in and she's going to talk a little bit about what her students, the culminating project with her students. Then we're going to have an overview of the CLC, and then hopefully, if I don't talk a lot, because if you notice, I kind of talk a lot, we'll get to have about an hour or so in groups, and I have several tasks that we need to do when we're working in these groups. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So, has anybody heard about the new Lego minifigurine that just came out? Have y'all seen the new? Nobody? Oh my gosh, somebody's smiling. We got the new scientist. I know, yeah, he's Minnie. It's a she. She's the mini little scientist. She's supposedly the first female scientist to ever be created by the Lego company. She came out maybe about 2 weeks ago. No, not that kind of come out, you know what I mean. But anyway, so she's out. And, you know, my class, we were talking about Bodson. Remember the Bodson article? I know my engineering group, they didn't read it. Could somebody kind of tell us a little bit about the Bodson article that we read, what, 2 weeks ago? Did I put you on this one? Oh, Ashley, hi. We have a coordinator here. Fantastic. Anybody remember, what was the article about? Thank you, Rose.
The article was about what the stereotypes students had about scientists, and they did this study where they had the students draw a scientist, and then from that they then invited different types of scientists into the classroom to work with them, and then they kind of saw that their stereotypes changed.
Yeah. So they had a female engineer come in, and I think they were only in the classroom like one day, weren't they? Now, they brought in a female engineer, and then they brought in a physicist. And they were two different classes, but the scientist and the engineer were in the classroom one time. They did a pre-study with, what do you think a scientist, draw scientist, and then they did one a little bit later. And what they found was that a lot of the drawings had changed. So, you know, if you imagine what a scientist, my class already has, what do you think of when you think of a scientist? What does this person look like? Huh? No whispering. Should I make them talk to each other? Okay, you have to talk to the person next to you. Introduce yourself if you don't know each other. Talk about what a scientist looks like. Okay. So, this is an awful big group. Let's go ahead. I heard some groups saying what they thought a scientist looks like. So, can we hear some comments? What does a scientist look like? You can yell it out too.
A white male.
White male. Usually dead, aren't they? We've got to talk about the dead white male. Okay. What?
Einstein.
He said Einstein. So, are all scientists Einstein? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I think of.
Oh, okay. So you think so describe Einstein to us.
Kind of like, you know, the crazy hair in the lab with the green bubbly stuff.
Green bubbly. Did he work with green bubbly? Did Einstein work with green bubbly? No. He was a theoretical physicist. That's what my dad is. So they're crazy. Maybe that's where I got it right. Oh, I found out yesterday I'm a psychopath, so there we go. It just proves I am crazy. What else do we know about scientists? What do they look like? They have a lab coat on. Goggles. What? Facial hair. Why did I do that? I don't know. You know what a teacher is, right? It's a stand-up comedian, so that's me. What else? Does a scientist work outside of the lab? No. Somebody shaking, no way. So these are ideas that we have about scientists, but look at, so my engineers, I'm really looking to you guys. Do you wear goggles all the time? All the time? I don't see a single goggle on any one of you. You can't be wearing goggles. I don't see, well, let me look. I'm looking for crazy hair. Well, you might be the craziest hair. And you look like the doctor. So, from Tardis, you know, Doctor Who. Oh, she's not. Okay, so we have one goggle. Okay. So, we have our own perceptions, and that's what children do. If you start thinking about the cartoons, you think about all these different ideas, the scientist is being, the stereotype of Einstein is being stereotyped in all that we enjoy. It's in our social media, it's in our, it's probably here on UNL campus. So that's why I brought up her, because she's a female, but I don't know, I guess those are glasses, they might be goggles. She's working probably in a chemistry lab. She's got her little stuff. Her name is Professor C. Bowden. We figured that one out, so just to let you know, that's Professor. but she still perpetuates this idea that you have to wear a lab coat and science is outside of us. And that's why I'm super excited about you guys being here, is that you're going to take us outside of that stereotype. We're going to have engineers who are going to be just normal people. And students find out that science is normal. You know, it can be you and me. All right, so introductions. Since we now have people, we have some community learning center coordinators and such. I know Kathy's not here. All right, so if we would, well, congratulations. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so why don't we go ahead and introduce ourselves in the back. If you want to come up, you can. If you want to stay back there because they're trying to hide. Go ahead.
All right, I'm Katie Knold, and I'm at Huntington Community Learning Center.
I'm Ashley Sevick. I'm at Riley Community Learning Center.
I'm Dania Herrick, or Bullard as the thing says, because my name will change eventually. And I am the Community Learning Center person for Brownell and Norwood Park.
I'm Krista, and I'm at Norwood Park.
I'm Ross, I'm at Brownell.
So I'm super excited because we got another Krista. I don't find very many, and most of them don't spell it the right way. That's with a K. All right, so Dr. Vielander, you wanna, I've been just yelling out, talking like normal. If you wanna introduce yourself and kind of somehow introduce the students, they don't seem like what you're trying or anything.
Make them all talk and say where they're from.
Well, for time, no, I don't think so.
Okay, so I'm Dr. Vielander. I'm teaching the Introduction to Biomedical Engineering course that half of you are in. You already know me. So I'm really excited about this opportunity. Part of my appointment at university is to do outreach. So this is kind of using my students in a way to do some of that outreach. But I'm doing that because, one, it's good for you. We talked about that, right? How it's important to explain your ideas and your scientific thoughts to non-scientific people. But also, it's really good to work with the other people in our class. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what you guys come up with. And you're all really creative. We found that out on Tuesday when you're coming up with ideas. So I'm excited.
Well, can we have the hands for the biomedical engineer students? I was going to say, do we have any integration here? Okay, we kind of do. All right. So thank you. Okay, I'm Dr. Krista Adams with a K. You know, and this sign language. I'm Krista right here. I usually wear big jewelry, so people would always say Krista. You know, just the first letter, Krista. So my students are, well, I've already kind of talked. I'm just bragging on them. They're fantastic. Okay, if you would y'all just raise your hand, say, hi, I'm an elementary ed major. Woo! Oh, well, some of them, this is really nice. So for those of you, especially haven't worked, we have quite a number of them that are not only elementary ed, but they're special ed majors as well. So is that a dual major, is that correct? So a good number. So this is even nicer to start thinking about how this outreach with students who have special needs. All right, so let's get started. What did I got to say next? Oh, science club project. All right, let's talk about this. All right, so what I did was, last year we had some problems because we were having to get up with an idea real quick and get some lessons together. So this year, to save time, we have some booklets with topics, okay? And they already have some lessons already in here. My class you will have to modify, but this is a good starting place. So I'll talk about that in just a minute, but we're going to be modifying a science unit. You're going to be designing and implementing a culminating biomedical engineering project. And then you're going to be, together, y'all are also going to be developing take-home experiences for students and families. Just simple little activities, but that's the big basis of CLC is really to the outreach to the community. So you're not, while you're biomedical engineering, why don't I just say engineering, you guys are doing outreach, but there's still outreach from the program itself. So the topics that we have that we can have modified, so everybody will have a chance to look at these technically, and the suggested grade levels. Okay, so you could, in a possibility, take them up or down. Oobleck, has anybody heard of Oobleck? It's a Dr. Seuss book. So anyway, we have that as well. So those are the suggested grades. It's all on this book as well. The cool thing here, you know, it has, I've got the teacher's guide. You can look through that. So by the end of class today, y'all are gonna have chosen a topic and kind of go from there. So what you're going to do, now this is the big thing, and this is, I think, for my students and for all students involved, the big idea is, what is this essential question? What is it that students need to focus on throughout the throughout this club, okay? So what is an essential question or a big idea is, what do you expect students to understand about this concept and be able to do as a result, okay? So if I'm going to talk about the oobleck, then I'm going to come up with this is kind of, you can, this one says, what do scientists do? So maybe this one is focusing on what scientists do. Maybe you take it and you're going, well, since I'm choosing it for 3rd, 4th grade level, I'm going to do solid, liquids, and gases. So by the end of the club, my students are going to be able to explain properties of the states of matter. Something like that. You've got to have one big idea, and no matter what the experience or what lesson that you create and teach, there should be something that connects directly to the big idea. All right. You may have multiple concepts, so again, you may have multiple concepts, but what is the idea that pulls everything together? And I'm glad some of you are writing this down. I'll probably put this up on the web. Ooh, I got a movie embedded in it, so I'm not sure. But anyway, so make sure you're thinking about this big idea. And so here's, for my students, we did this last week, I think, that we had the card sort, and they had at the top, it was like, what is the goal of this lesson? So this would be an example of an essential question or something that we have to do. So the goal of this lesson sequence or unit is to help students understand how shadows are formed and the factors that influence the size and shapes of shadows. So you know exactly what you're focusing on. You're focusing on shadows and what influence the size and the shapes of shadows, okay? So you're going to do something along that line with whatever topic you have, okay? Any questions? I think right here, this is probably the most important slide, well, besides what you have to do, for the entire piece that we're going to do. The rest of it is just overview. This is what you really need to focus on, and when you get into your groups, focus on what is this big question? What is it that we're wanting students to walk away with? All right, so there are, as most of you know, there's 2 roles that you can have. Technically there's 3, but I'm going to stick with 2. For the science club personnel, these can be both TLTE and the BSEN students, and when you're doing this, you're going to help organize the club experiences. So what's going on at the Community Learning Center, okay? You're going to plan 6 to 7 weeks of after-school activities. This is plus or minus, depending on our group size. I'm kind of not sure how long it's going to take with the culminating project. That might actually take 2. So, you know, there's somewhere, it may be 4 lessons and 2 for 4 or 5 lessons for teaching and 2 for the culminating. I don't know how that's going to play out, but that's where you guys get together and talk and kind of plan it. TLT students teach 1 lesson, so every student, and I'll show there's a little, you know, there's a little caveat if you're not able to work in the after school. You will all teach a lesson no matter what. TLTE students will teach 1, but I would encourage any of the BSEN students, if you want, to co-teach. To come in, maybe not take on the full role, but be an assistant. I'm really wanting it to be where we're not just, I'm doing this and you're doing that. I hope to see a lot of collaboration between the 2. But that's up to you. Some of you may say, well, I need to do it like this, and some of you will say, I really want to work with another person. So in the culminating project, I'm also encouraging to have some TLTE impact, and definitely I know that there's going to be discussion between the 2, but maybe we have some TLTE students to come in and help out with the project as well. Okay, so those of you who cannot spend at least 3 classes in the after school, we have a separate project, and that's the video. So you're going to create a video. It lines to the curricula and experiences. So like if we were doing shadows, I don't know. Ooh, wouldn't that be cool? I just watched the Doctor Who where, you know, they had the shadows, the dark shadows and everything. Anybody watch Doctor Who? Okay, thank you. Finally, yeah. We got some strong people. I won't say that they're geeks or anything, because I wouldn't call myself that. I mean, I'm fantastic. Interview, so as part of the video, and I'm going to show you an example, you're going to be interviewing people who are experts in the field. So you might be an expert, but you might know of somebody who's more of an expert than yourself, okay? And I'll show you an example of the one that one group of students did this time. There needs to be some kind of real world experience or connections to this video, because I mean, if I'm talking about oobleck or maybe even penguins. Okay, well, penguins, we could talk about going to the zoo, you know, not the Omaha, but Lincoln Zoo, so we can pull some of that real world connection for our kids here. But there may be topics that, how does it relate to these kids? And, you know, besides that it's really fun or it's cute, try to think really about how we can put these things together. Now, I wish I could like folded this. One thing to keep in mind is what is the language. So when you're creating these videos, really think about the language that's being used. And that's where I kind of already talked to my students. You'll notice that when you talk to some professors and some people that they might talk a little bit over your head. Anybody ever experienced that? It's okay, you can say yes, it's all right. I mean, shoot, as brilliant as I am, I mean, there's only like one person that's ever talked over my head, I think. But you know, yes, we've all had experiences where somebody talks about something that we're not, so we have to be very cognizant. If you're working with young children, these are like K, 5, 6th grade. And they're talking and you understand them and you know that they're using these big words and you don't. You're like, holy cow. Would a kindergartner be able to understand what this person's saying? Okay? So keep that in mind. Maybe not a kindergarten group, but you know, keep it in mind of the group you're going to work with. So I have an example. This was last year's. So last year, this was the big problem, was coming up with an idea. And this one was kind of brilliant. I will tell you, I was really pleased with this one. This was the Science of Pizza. It was for 3rd through 5th grade. And our students came together and they set up a series of activities, and they had a culinary project. They also had something for the parents as well. Science of pizza dough. So the first lesson was actually on science of pizza dough. So it's, you know, really looking at what happens if dough has yeast, or what happens to dough without yeast. I believe the second lesson was tomato sauce, and yeah, that's correct. And they explored acids and bases. Now, let's look up here. Are these two ideas even related? Acids and bases and yeast? How? How are they being related? Pizza. Notice so you can almost imagine what the essential question is, right? How do you make pizza? What's the science behind creating pizza? So even though these are separate entities, if I were just looking at acids and bases and then I was looking at yeast or reactions, those don't seem to go together, but we've got something that ties it in. So we've got this essential question that everything ties together. Okay, so this was really kind of interesting. They did a science of proteins, and so the students really didn't take home the message because it messed with their mind. They did not understand that beans are proteins. And it was, you know, because they could identify meat and stuff like that, but they were able to look at the percentage of protein in beans, but still it was something that I wish we had more time to explore. But anyway, science of cheese, and then I love this. This is like perfect. This was their culminating project. They looked at the conduction of heat. I mean, isn't that brilliant? Oh, okay, what am I talking about? Well, what kind of material is best to bake a pizza? And this was really cute. They tried, they of course did metal, they did stoneware, they tested paper, and I know those three things. And what was really interesting at the end, so they tested it, and then using their data, they were supposed to then choose what material to bake their pizza. Well, when the students allowed the students to bake their pizza, it was kind of funny. The kids just went back to whatever mom and dad told them usually used at home. But that's an interesting thing to take away. Why are they holding on to this idea of what mom and dad? So maybe it's the age range that these students were working with. So this is just one activity. So with the first activity, they had pizza dough, and so there was leftover pizza dough, and then they could take it home. This was just a simple one, so of course you can come up with other things that really get the students and the parents to work. Maybe there's a book or there's something along that line, but this was one activity. And finally, here's the video. Now, I'm going to tell you up front, this was done by one student. Hopefully we have more than one student working on the videos. I think she did a fantastic job of one student doing all the work. She did all the editing, everything. This is hers. All right, so you can clearly see that this one had Anne actually went and interviewed a nutritionist here on campus and got a little bit more science behind the pizza, kind of pulling it all together. And then, of course, the connection with Valentino's. Like I said, one of the students in that group worked at Valentino's or had worked at Valentino's, so there was this nice little piece to bring in there. So, I mean, it's only 5 minutes, it's a nice one to show, and that's what we're looking for, just a short video. We don't want it to be long, we don't want it to be 30 minutes or 40 or an hour long, just to kind of pull things together and to help support that essential question. So, and you can take it any way you want. I mean, you may decide to focus more on the culminating project and how that's out in the real world, or whatever you want to do. But this is just an example. So I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer and let her go ahead and talk a little bit about what her students are doing, so my students can understand how you can help out with the project.
Perfect. So we talked about this a little bit in class on Tuesday, but I want to make sure all of the elementary education majors also hear what you guys are doing, what you're bringing to the table, right? So we looked through the list of the different options, of the different topics, thought about how we could tie into biomedical engineering. So really what we're trying to do is just provide some science content for all of the education majors. Along with that, we're going to be working on how we can communicate these different ideas, and also being able to delve in a little bit deeper into some of the topics you're interested in. So I want you to make sure that you're choosing, talking to the BMEs right now, choosing topics that are things that you want to be exploring, because you're going to have to dig a little bit deeper than we go in class to provide this information for the education students. Does that make sense? So you might have to use some of your primary literature, you might have to go read up on what actually causes EKGs to work. So you can bring that information back and talk to the other students about that information. So like Krista was talking about, I want you to be in communication with the other group members throughout the semester. So helping them figure out what kind of information is important to have during the first couple weeks of these projects. If you can go visit, that would be awesome. I realize you have very different schedules, and that might not be feasible. But if a couple of you can go and hang out with the students, see what this looks like, I think that's really going to help you figure out how you can come up with that culminating project. With the culminating project, the big biomedical engineering activity, I want to be able to put together a lesson plan. I know nobody in the engineering group has ever put together a lesson plan, probably, except for Maggie, yes. So Maggie's your expert within the class. But work with elementary education majors. Figure out what goes into a lesson. What's a learning objective? Things like that, you guys are going to have to really rely on them. So it's going to be a team effort. You're relying on them for some information. They're going to rely on you. So make sure that you're looking for each other's strengths in that and building upon each other. So, questions about that? Good. Everybody excited? Is it starting to make more sense in your head what we're doing? I think it's kind of been fuzzy and weird for a long time.
Yeah, they are.
What?
Did anybody surprised by anything we've talked about so far today? No? Good. So,
I'm going to turn it back. I'm going to turn it over to Katie and Ashley. So y'all were here. Katie and Ashley, come on up. Of course, you may want Ashley. I don't know which one. These two worked with us last year, and so they're our resident experts, and we're very excited to have them here. So I'm going to let them take over. Here. So I picked out a few of the slides.
Okay. Yep, as Krista said, we hosted a science club at Huntington last year, and you had yours at Riley. I think for our kids, they really enjoyed the opportunity to have some more hands-on learning experiences. A lot of times in the classroom, they don't get to delve into projects as deeply, get messy, do a lot of these kind of self-guided kinds of learning opportunities. So it was instantly engaging for them because it was something they didn't really get to experience much of before.
You guys may or may not be aware, the district has continued to have to cut into times and make the daily schedules for the classrooms much more laid out. So science is often limited to maybe 20-minute sessions in a day. There's not a whole lot that you can accomplish in 20 minutes. So to give them the extra opportunity to really delve in and do a lot of inquiry-based learning after school, to do a lot of hands-on things that get them excited about science are really important if they're going to end up being engineers or be science teachers or be those kinds of things. So it's kind of a career exploration for them as well. I know, for example, history was not my thing in school. I really struggled with history until I got to my junior year of high school and I had a teacher and I got to really learn about things that were interesting to me. And then I was upset that I had, spent all this time not focused on history and learning about all of that. If this gives them the opportunity when they're 6, 7, 8 years old to get excited about science and to really start exploring that. It doesn't mean you can't talk about other topics like math. I know the pizza one would have been perfect opportunity to talk about math when you're talking about acids and bases, when you're talking about mixing ingredients, you're talking about measurements, those kinds of things. But so don't stay away from other topics. You might have them do some writing about what they're learning. That would be great. But this is really science focused and giving them hands-on opportunities. This after school time, these kids have already been in school for 7 hours. Every kid, even our kindergartners, has homework every day after school. They have a math worksheet. They are expected to read at home. So we don't want it to feel like more school. We want them to come to after school and have learning be fun, have it be engaging, have it be very hands-on. We want them to want to be there more than they want to be in front of their video games or to be shooting hoops with their friends. Not that those things aren't important. Those are good learning for other reasons. But to give them those opportunities at school in a safe environment where they're learning and having fun is huge. So.
And just to kind of jump into the whole what is a community learning center piece, the additional outside of school opportunities are really important in the communities that we serve. We're at 25 sites, 25 schools in Lincoln are community learning center schools, and that added opportunity for these kids is essential because we're working with families who don't have a lot of expendable income. We're located in Title I schools, which means that we have a high population of families who are living at or below the poverty line. We kind of use the free and reduced lunch numbers to calculate out how, our percentages and so on. But, if you're at a school where kids are going home after school and then their parents are taking them off to some other extracurricular activity that's fee-based, those kids might have more opportunities to explore their interests than kids who, really are just going to school and then going home and perhaps, watching younger siblings or left to themselves in some cases when we have a lot of single parent families we work with. So, that kind of opportunity gap is something that we really work to address in community learning center schools and make sure that all kids in Lincoln are able to explore their interests outside of school time, regardless of their ability to pay or their parents' ability to put them in a car and take them somewhere. We try and make sure that we offer a lot of these services to our kids and services to our families right there in the building, and make them free of charge, open to anyone. All you need is basically the interest in participating, and we're never short on interest in participating. So we really work to remove some of those barriers, and opportunities like this that we can bring in is just another barrier that we've removed for those kids so that they can, appreciate things that maybe some of their peers in other schools might take for granted.
The slides talk about CLCs as a smartphone as opposed to an old school house phone or business phone where it's just makes calls. A smartphone does a whole lot more for you. So it compares the basic phone or the house phone to a conventional school model where they come, they do the classroom learning, they go home at night. The CLC model is this smartphone base where they have that school component, it makes phone calls, it does the proper learning stuff, but then we do all these other things. So we have groups of community representatives that sit with us and work on how to strengthen the neighborhood, to support learning at home, to make the people that live in our communities give back to those communities or to build it up so it's a desirable place to be. We might do things like having medical or dental services or making sure our families are aware of free opportunities to get those things done. We know that dental, like oral care, is connected to heart health. So it's really important that when they're young, that they are taking care of their teeth, for example. That there's early childhood learning. There's all kinds of pieces that go into that.
And I thought it would be nice to talk about what your role is.
Yep. Last year we had kind of a different title, so I don't think any of you were working with us last year, but we're CLC site coordinators, myself, Ashley, and Dania back there. And so we really kind of work to integrate a lot of the systems and programs and opportunities that are coming into our school, reaching out to community partners and just making sure that we're able to get things to the school building so that families are able to easily access them, and just making sure that the things that we're providing are the things that our families need, because the families at Huntington that I serve might not look the same or have the same needs as the families at Riley. So, our job is somewhat fluid, but we really are kind of braiding those resources together and making sure that what we see around us is being addressed through help from partners like you or other opportunities out there in the community that we can bring in to address those needs.
These are our three CLC goals. So these are our primary focus. This is what drives our work. Smart Kids, so that's where you guys come in with clubs like this. We provide 3 after-school clubs and a lot of different opportunities. We might do intervention-based clubs for kids who are struggling to get on target with their reading, for example. Or we might go in and provide educational opportunities for families so they can support learning at home. Then there's the Thriving Families piece. Again, we work in high poverty schools. So my school, for example, not Riley, I'm also at Saratoga, food is a big obstacle for our families there. So we provide a food pantry for those families so that kids can overcome that. There's lots of pieces that go into that, but supporting families so that they can support their kids. And then the strong neighborhoods piece, like I talked about. Really making sure that our neighborhoods that our students go to, or live in, are strong neighborhoods, that they feel safe, that they want to be there.
All right. I'll let you go ahead. Right now, this is what I believe we have working with us. And so what you're going to do, I'm just putting this list up here. My class already kind of knows what group you're going to be working with, but I'll explain to everybody else. We have, on Wednesday, we have a group that's going to be interested in 2nd through 4th grade. We had, most of the teachers were more interested in the younger grades, but we had one with a 4th grade interest, so we kind of modified, so 2nd through 4th grade. So if you're interested in working on a Wednesday or with the groups for 2nd and 4th, you'll notice that a lot of these are younger. This year last year I had a lot with the upper grades. This year the students are more interested in the younger grades, but that's how it works out. On the Thursday, we have a group that is interested with the K through 3rd grade. You're more likely going to be working with Huntington. On Friday, we have 3 different groups. We had a lot of interest on Friday, and this worked out really nicely because I think pretty much we were able to, I was able to get, based on the students' interest, much smaller versus having like the K3 or 2-4. So we have the group that's really interested in the upper grades, 4 through 6.
And we actually don't have 6th grade.
Oh, okay, 5th. What? I just said 5th grade, yeah, that's all it, read that, it says 5. Then we have K through 1st. Norwood Park is just come on, yes ma'am.
What time is it?
Oh, we'll talk about that later. Right now, let's talk about what grades, because that's kind of how we've talked about how they're, anyway, let me just stick with this first. Okay, K 1st grade, and then our final is the 2nd through 3rd grade, okay? So keep in mind, I'll bring back this slide in a minute, but let's keep on going. So what I have next is the expectations. So this is what you're going to do between now and when it actually starts, and then of course I have today's expectations. So we're doing really great. So our first thing is that you need to complete the volunteer form. Some of you may have already done so. I passed it out to my class in the first day. I don't know, Jenny, it's on Blackboard, so it's on Blackboard on my side, it's on Blackboard on yours. There is this form. I have this one copy, so you know what to look for, okay? So you need to get that filled out as soon as you can. My class is going for a pre-visit. So I would encourage any BSEN students to also take an opportunity to get to know the students. And what you're going to do is go, what is the time for the CLCs? Each school, last year it seemed to have a little bit different schedules. So I don't want to say, well, everybody is this or that. You find out, okay? One of the important things, because we have different programs, we have, and different people running the site, they have different expectations. They're all similar, but remember, this is based on the community that the school is located in. So Brownell will have a different community need than Riley. There may be some overlap, but there's still some specific things that the Brownell students need that the Riley students don't, okay? So you'll need to know about the procedures. So my students are going to find out about the procedures for picking up and dropping off. Like I said, BSEN students, I think you need to understand that as well. Now I have student demographics. I'm not really expecting you to say, well, there's 20 females and there's 60 males and this and that. You need to just at least observe what kinds of students are there. And it does change, because with a science club, there are going to be students who are really interested, and it may look, the interest in the type of students that apply and want to be in a science club may be completely different than the group, but you get an idea of what the school has, what the school, the students that are accustomed to working in the after-school programs, you get a little bit of an idea. I know that the groups have been fantastic in helping us with students. and really they're there. They've spent time. They also often offer an extra person in case we need, you know, just that little extra hand, especially in the first day or two. Usually with that first day, we're not. It's like, oh, what's my first day? What do I do? And then what I'd like you to do is also look at what kind of available resources do they have. Most of the schools have like construction paper, pencils, color pencils and stuff like that, but there might be, they might have cups, they might have other materials that you already are having in your mind what you need. My students and all students involved, I have stuff in my office. I know that last year, the students who did the protein activity, they actually went to, I think, the biology department to get some of their equipment. There are different resources that we can have here on campus, and we will try to help you, but there's some things that, you know, just like with any class, there's some things that you might also have to provide as well. Usually, last year we had groups that did a journal. Okay, be careful with the journal, because students take them home and they forget to bring them back. So, and since you're only meeting once a week, but you know, think about what it is that you're going to have, and what does the school have available based on your current understanding of what your project's going to be. Okay? Any questions on this piece? Yes.
Do you know if we have to fill up in the volunteer forms if we're doing video?
A video, if you're not going on campus, then no.
Okay.
Yeah. And these are for the people who are working in the after school. Now, for those of you who are working in the CLCs, put it on your resume. It is a resume builder. Oops, I put it in my pocket. See? Resume in my pocket. This is something you are volunteering and you are working in an after-school program. Even if you've only been there 2 days, the day before you teach and the day you teach, although I'm really encouraging you 3. But if you're there 2 to 3 days, put it down. You have just had outreach, extension. This is practical experience for my students. Put it down. That sounded like, ooh, because I really mean it. Okay, work as a group to plan and teach 1 unit of study. That's as a group, this huge group of 70 people who didn't eat all my donuts. There's more. You're going to attend at least 3 meetings, okay? I know we might have some that'll only be able to do 2, that's fine, but let's try to go for 3, because here's what happened last year. I was at the group that started with pizza. Dan was, oh, I'm sorry, there's Dan. Dan is videotaping. Dan and I were there, and the students were kind of like deer in the headlights because they forgot, hey, I'm starting a new project. I've got to introduce the people, you know, because technically there's going to be a lot of in and out of the people who are involved. You know, these kids are going to go, who's that crazy person coming? I mean, I know they say that about me, but you know, it's you I'm worried about. So try to be there at least maybe the first day. I had a second group. There was probably like 10 of my students involved in that group, and so the first day they introduced everybody. let me explain. 10 of my students, and there were like 10 students in the club. So there was basically one teacher for every student. Crazy, right? Well, after they introduced themselves, I sent everybody else home. So only the necessary people. So I ended up having like 3 people left. Wasn't that right, Dan? Yeah, Dan was with me the whole time. Because we were all crowded in this room. It was like, man, we got outnumbered the kids. So even if it's the first day, come in, introduce yourself, just say hey, and then say, I'm going to show up and you'll see me this day and this day. And then go on and go your way. But help the student realize that there are going to be multiple people involved and that you're there. And I would encourage, of course, on the last day, so my BSEN students, if you're with the final project, you really need to be there the week before. 1, because you know what they did the week before, and you can tie into the other one, into your final project. So make sure that you're at least the week before, so the students know you're coming, and then you know what's going on. Because let's just say, as a teacher, okay, I know I'm a teacher. But there's a lot of times that I plan certain things and it doesn't go exactly how I planned. Maybe I don't get as far or I got way farther than I thought. So be there so you know what the students experienced at least that day, the time before, okay? All right, or, oh, I forgot, there's a big or provide a team for a video for team, probably, geez, I forgot a word, ignore that, for the team and teach a lesson elsewhere. Now, that's my TX students. You know that everybody has to teach at least one lesson. But if you're not participating in the CLC, then you're helping with the video, okay? Questions? Because we're almost ready to move. You're probably going, yes. Okay, so expectations for today. So we have, right now it's 10:30, and we have class till 12, 15, but if we get done, well, that's fine. But these are the things that must get done today. So write it down. I'll be able to leave this up for some, but I'm going to be flipping. There's some things that we're going to have to move, but make sure that everybody understands what is it that you're taking home and having completed by the end of this class. Oh, well, that one's easy. You're going to determine who's the science club personnel and the video personnel, okay? Whoever that is, I don't know who it is. You determine who's going to be doing what. Now, I've already got an idea based on my class, but as we have some other people that are coming in, I don't know what your role is, okay? So the BSEN students, not exactly sure what role you're going to take on. So we need to have everybody knowing what everybody's doing, especially me and Dr. Melander. Here's the thing. So instead of me talking to every one of you, although I love to talk to everybody, I want two co-leaders, or co-leaders, not two, co-leaders. I need one from each and every group to be a TLTE student, and one to be a BSEN. You two, whoever you two are going to be kind of like the coordinators. You're going to do most of the conversations between me and Dr. Melander and the coordinators, and then you're going to also help with the conversation between the people in the others. Okay? You may decide to also put somebody else in charge. You may decide that the TLTE person is going to be in charge of the teaching and the BSEN is in charge of the video, not saying that, or vice versa. You may decide that the two of you are the leaders, kind of coordinating everything, and you assign two other people to be in charge of coordinating the video or coordinating the teaching experience. That's up to your group. There's got to be some kind of semblance, because there's ultimately, in some of these groups, it's going to be a lot larger, because what did I send out? 6, most groups? Now we're going to grow by 40 other people, okay, because there's 40 in, is it 40 exactly? 41, oh my gosh, there's 71 of us. Okay, so 71, so 41 more people to add to this group. So it's going to be a little bit more coordinating. It's also going to take a little bit more, there's going to be a lot of upfront work, but it's going to be a lot of less work once we get through, okay? Let me just throw this out right here. If there's ever any problems, see me or Dr. Melander, okay? If you're having trouble at the coordination stop, wherever the school, talk to us. We'll talk with them, okay? We're here to work with you and help you, but we will also help you deal with any kind of conflicts. If you find certain students, students having not pulling the weight, we'll take care of that as well. But you take care of your job, but if anything you think it's a little, send it to us. That's what we're here for, okay? Choose a topic. Oh, golly geez, that's the next thing you got to do. I have all the books over there. There's going to be, I know that the engineering students have already had a chance to look at them. They're over here on my right, your left. So Today you're going to choose a topic. That means that you need to come up with the essential question. Again, if it was on shadows, maybe you're having students figure out what, oh no, I think I have, am I doing, can everybody hear me? Are the back people having trouble hearing me? Okay, thanks. Yeah, they were offering me a microphone. You know, okay. Oh, that's a whole nother story. Okay, so determine the essential question. And, well, I should put an asterisk by all this and the culminating project. Get an idea. Things can change. I mean, the culminating project with the conduction of heat was a change from the original activity idea, okay? So it's okay that things change. It's just get an idea now so you can start moving forward. If you don't have an idea, then we're just stuck here in limbo. Okay, the other thing that you're going to do, and this is really important, because if you want students to come to your club, you got to have a name for that club. Okay, for the science of pizza was Science of Pizza, wasn't it? Katie, was it at your school?
Yep.
Okay, so the club was Science of Pizza.
I thought mine was very creative.
Yeah, she had a creative one.
They did Poverty Doesn't Matter, and their culminating project was making ice cream, so the club was called Ice Cream Matters. But the kids got really excited about it. Anything that, and I
That's right.
Sunday on it, and they thought that was pretty awesome.
And it was for the young grades. It was like K through 2. And of course, it was the cutest thing. Oh my goodness, those kids had energy. Woo! Woo! You know, that's before they had the ice cream. Okay, so come up with a club name and a brief description. If you know what the essential question is, you probably already have a description of it, okay? But it's basically your what is it? Advertising your product. Woo, golly geez, we're already here. Okay, so the co-leaders, for those, I've kind of already explained it, personnel roles, topic essentials, you'll be emailing me at the end, so let's go back one. All right, well, no, that's the wrong way. So what I'm going to do right now is, should I go ahead and go back to the page where we break down the groups? Would that be better than leaving it here, and then after about 5 minutes or so, then I'll move it back to what we got to do today? Does that sound good? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
No time, so that my students, they have really close class schedules.
It's after school.
Okay.
So it's somewhere between 3 and 5.
3 and 5, all right.
Yeah. The actual time that I
That'll
can.
be a little rough.
Right. Okay, I can give them that information. I think that's correct, right? Okay. All right, so I did not print up little things to say what grade. Let's see. Where's my 2nd through 4th grade Wednesday group? Are y'all sitting close together? Since you're mostly on this table right here, why don't we just take that this whole row right here and make it the Wednesday group, 2 through 4. If you're interested as my biomedical engineers, if you want to join that group, you're more than welcome. All right, our Thursday, K through 3, Huntington. Where's that group?